Let's go ahead and create our very first Jenkins project using the Freestyle Job option. So let me quickly log into Jenkins. Okay, so let me go to dashboard. So you can create a new job by clicking on the plus new item, and you need to give it a name, and these are the options which we have currently. So these options might increase based on the plugins which you have installed. So currently these are the supported project types where we are going to make use of the freestyle project. Okay, so this is the classic option. You need to give it a appropriate name. So let me name this as generate ASCII artwork. So I'm going to generate some ASCII artwork using this project. So that would be the name of my job or project. And it gives you a lot of options like general, source code management, build triggers, build environment, build steps, and the post build actions. So first, let's go with the general option. I would like to give some basic description, which says that generate ASCII artwork using the Causa library and also an REST API called as advice slip. So basically, the Causa library is going to print a customized message using various different animals and ASCII manner. So I'm just going to use that library. And for the messages, I'm going to dynamically get advice using this REST API. And apart from this, if you want, we can also add, some other options like if you want to discard old builds, if you want to make this project parameterized, right? So if you don't know what these options are, as mentioned earlier, you can just click on the question mark and it's going to explain about that specific option. So I'm just going to go with the defaults. I don't want to manage or use the Git repositories. So I'm just going to go with none in the source code management. I don't want to have any automated triggers for this job. So I'm just going to leave the build triggers option empty. And the same goes for the build environments. If I want, I can also use the add timestamps to the console output. So if you remember, while installing plugins during the installation phase, we selected the timestamp plugin. So it's basically going to add timestamps to the console output. So I'll just enable this. And talking about the build steps. So you can run the steps either using Windows patch command, shell. You can invoke top-level Maven targets, and the list keeps on increasing as you keep on, installing new plugins. For the time being, I would like to execute a shell. It's going to give me a box where I can enter my, shell commands. It also gives you the option to display all the available environment variables. And you can also have some advanced stuff like writing exit codes to make the build unstable. For the time being, let me just copy paste some code over here. Let me explain what I'm doing here. So this is a simple shell script kind of commands. So the first step is I'm going to build a message by invoking the advice slip REST API. So I'm using a curl command to make a call to this REST API, and whatever response which I get, I'm going to save it in a file called as advice.json. So it's a JSON file. So let me open this in a new tab. And as you can see here, it just gives you a simple JSON with the slip ID and the slip advice. And this is the advice which, we would like to use. Okay. So let me go back. And I'm just saving it to advice.json file. I'm reading the file using the cat command. And then I'm using a simple test to make sure that whatever advice which we got in the previous step has more than 5 words. So I'm reading the file. From the JSON file, I would only like to extract the message part. So I'm using the JQ library to, just read the advice or fetch the advice thing and save it into another file called as advice.message. And then I'm using a WC word count command to, read this message. And I'm just checking if it has, more than 5 words. If it has more than 5 words, I'm just going to echo advice has more than 5 words. If it has, less than equal to 5 words, it's going to say, the advice has 5 words or less, and it's going to exit with 1. So basically, it's going to fail the build here itself. And if the test passes, I'm just using a simple deploy thing to, install the Cause library using the apt-get install command. And I'm going to use the advice message, which I created in the previous step, and piping the message to the Cause command, and it's going to, generate the ASCII artwork. So that's the shell script which I have. It has the build, test, and the deploy everything in a single job. And apart from this, if you want to add any other build steps, you can do that. For the time being, I don't want to add anything. If you want to do any post build, you can also do that. You see, you have a lot of options over here, which we'll explore in a minute. And you can simply say save or apply the changes. So when you say save, it's going to take you back to the project which I just created. So it's going to display the description which I added over there. You have the status, changes, the workspace. So a workspace will be created in your Jenkins home directory. So any files which are generated will be part of this workspace. We'll check that. You can also build the project. If you want to configure it or make any changes, you can click on configure, which takes you back to the same page which we just worked on. You can delete the project or rename. And finally, you can see the builds as well. So if you remember, we are making use of the JQ library. So if the JQ library is not available on the Ubuntu machine where this is going to run, the build will fail. Okay. So you need to make sure that whatever libraries you are using, you need to either pre-install them on the virtual machine, or you need to, explicitly install them separately. So for the time being, I think JQ is not available on my machine. So let me just go to my virtual machine. Let me just check JQ. So I think JQ is available, so no need for me to install it, right? So let's go back and build the project. So let me say build now. Go to configure a new build. As you can see, a new build is running here. You can say it is in progress. The build number is number 1. And that's great. Our very first build has failed. I guess it's a great start to our training. So let's see why it failed. So I can simply click on the number 1 option. It's going to take you to that specific build. It's going to show you who started the build, how much time was spent on this build. So total, it took around 5.6 seconds to schedule to completion, and there were no changes basically. So you can also check the console output. So all the logs while running this will be displayed here, and it's showing me the timestamps because I enabled the timestamp over there. So it's using the browser time zone. Okay. And let me just see. So it's going to give you basic details like who started it, running a system. It's also going to give you the workspace where it is running. So it is the Jenkins home workspace. Within that, you have the workspace directory. Within the workspace directory, you have the name of this project. So you can also check this. So let me go to the Visual Studio Code. Let me clear this. Let's do a quick ls to ASCII workspace. Okay, there are some spaces over there. So I think that's the reason it's not taking it. So let's go to workspaces. Okay, so there is one workspace. I think I'll use, okay, single quotes. That's great. So yes, within this workspace, we have 2 files, advice.json and advice.message. So these are generated as part of my script. Okay, so let's check out the other logs about why it failed. So if you see here, it's going to run all the curl commands. It's going to display, the advice.json file. It's going to, run the test. So it has more than 5 words. So the test is passing. Advice has more than 5 words. And then it is trying to install the Cause library. So the library is also successfully installed. Okay, that's great. So let me scroll down. And yeah, it is installed. And then it is saying that the Cause is not found. So the library is installed, but the Jenkins is not able to, access this. Okay, so let me test this in the virtual machine. Right, so in the virtual machine, let me just search for Cause. And okay, I think it is expecting some data. So let me just say hello. Okay, let me just do help. And yes, I think the library is installed because it doesn't say that it is not able to find the library. The library is installed, but I think let me just use -h. Yes, so the library is installed, but Jenkins is not able to use this. So the reason why Jenkins is not able to use this library is because Jenkins user operates as a system service isolated from the user environment. And it does not have access to the user level path and the environment variables which are required for Kause library. So this can be resolved by specifying the required environment variables path at the Jenkins system level, ensuring it is available for the Jenkins service. So if I go back and if I do a quick echo $path, so for the root user, you can see that the /user/game path is available. So basically at this path, you have the Kause library available. So this path is not available to Jenkins. So how do we test this and how do we bypass this issue? So you can bypass it by adding environment variables for the Jenkins user as well. So what I can do is, so let's go back to Jenkins. So let us quickly update the configuration. So I can go to configure, scroll down. So before we run the Kause command, like after the installation, I can add a couple of more commands. So the first command, I'm just trying to echo the path just to show you like what path is available for the Jenkins service. And then I'm going to export the path. I'm going to add the /user/game/local path as well. I think the second echo is not required. And then I'm going to run the Kause command so that now it should be able to successfully execute the command. So let's save this. Let's go back to build. So it's going to run the same job again. And as you can see here, as of now, the build is successful. So if you see there's a green tick mark over here. So let's go to this and directly going to the logs by clicking on the successful icon. So if I scroll down, I should be seeing, okay, so before I talk about the advice, so let's just see this. So the first echo path, if you see here, it does not have the user local games path over here. So for that reason, it was not able to find the Kause library. But after I exported the path with the games path, it was able to identify and run the Kause library CLI command. And once it is run, you can also see that it is printing the advice message using ASCII picture of an cow radar, right? So that's how the Kause library is used for generating this ASCII image. So one more thing which I want to highlight here is the path. So currently the path is hard-coded in this specific job at the shell level. So if you have more projects which might depend on this path, you need to copy paste the same thing in all the jobs. So to avoid that copy pasting, you can also set this path at the global Jenkins level as well, or at the system level. So what you can do is you can go to manage Jenkins system configuration. And if you scroll down, so you should be having a global properties where you have this environment variables, and you can add a list of environment variables, whatever variables you add here. So these variables will be used by all the projects or all the jobs which are running in Jenkins. Okay, so you can do that, but for the time being, I'm not going to add anything over here because the path, whatever I've added in my previous job is only specific to it. It's not applicable to other jobs. Okay, so that's the reason you can just use this, at this specific space. So that's how you are going to use the Freestyle jobs to, use a shell script and, run the shell commands. So let me go back to this second build job and let's see if there is any other details available here. So let's go to the workspace. So let's see what we have in the workspace. So the workspace has two files, right? So these are the same two files which you also see in your virtual machine. So if you want to, check the files here, you can just check them out here as well. So if you see here, it's going to use the Jenkins URL path, the job name, and the file. Okay. So let me just view this. So this is a simple advice which was extracted from the JSON file. Okay. So that's what I just wanted to discuss here. So this is how you can quickly create the freestyle jobs. You can build them and check out the logs. That's all for now. Thank you.